right, guys, welcome to the TM Train whiteboard series, or whatever you want to call it. But these are going to be just some things that we're going to do, that we're going to talk about that, kind of just helps to have a visual. We're going to tackle some random topics, whether it be regarding nutrition, working out, obviously the same type of stuff, just things that we need to kind of expand upon, and may help to have some notes. So the first one is something that I've kind of had in the back of my mind for a little bit now, and that is why CrossFit is not ideal for hypertrophy. So this is not like a CrossFit bashing piece. I'm not, a lot of people know me from CrossFit. I started off doing a lot of CrossFit, and I still do here and there for conditioning purposes, and I'll maybe cover that another day on why I use CrossFit instead of long, slow duration cardio. But in general, and this is all based off of my own research, my own observation, so you don't have to take this to the grave if you don't want. Just take the information and kind of do with it what you will. I coached CrossFit for about 10 years, about 9.5 years. I did CrossFit competitively for like 5-6 years, mostly local, but was trained like a competitive CrossFitter for a long time. And most of the gains that I've seen have occurred since I kind of hung up the CrossFit shoes. So I'm going to kind of go over why I think that is. And like I said, some of this is stuff I've taken from some of the kind of leading names in the field, Dr. Mike Israetel, Lane Norton, just some of the biggest, best exercise physiologists, just people that I've researched and read. And then at the same time, kind of put my own spin on where I think CrossFit falls short for hypertrophy specifically. Obviously, if you want to compete in CrossFit, training CrossFit's what you're going to have to do. If you just want kind of general broad fitness and hypertrophy or building muscle is not really a priority, then by all means, CrossFit is a great method. Obviously, when programmed intelligently and under control. But what I'm going to do, this is once again strictly why CrossFit is not ideal for hypertrophy. I had a lot of people that would come up to me when I was a coach, usually guys, but sometimes girls as well, that would come up and say, I really want to build some muscle. I don't feel like I'm building muscle. I'm not seeing my physique change a lot doing CrossFit. And I think there's some pretty scientific reasons behind that. So let's focus on hypertrophy and like what it takes to build muscle. So the first thing that I'll go over is kind of the 4 elements of hypertrophy. Basically 4 things occur when we go to the gym to try to start building muscle. When we try to start engaging in reps and sets. It's going to be activation, which is the ability to turn a muscle on. And this is an important thing. Like I kind of attribute this to like mind-muscle connection. Like how well can you turn on a muscle group? It's great for someone to go to the gym and be able to do heavy bench press. But if they're extremely front delt dominant on their technique, or they simply don't connect with their chest, then that bench press may not be doing much. So you have to be able to turn on the muscle group. And like I said, we can delve more into that specific thing later on, but you have to be able to turn on the muscle group to get it to grow. The second thing is contraction, obviously. So the lengthening and shortening of the muscle. That has to occur for the following elements to occur. Okay, you have to be able to actually move through space under load to be able to see any progress in building muscle. The next thing is metabolite release. The main one is like lactic acid. That's like the main metabolite that is released when we start doing lots of reps. It is that kind of burning feeling in the muscle during a set, and that has, that does provide us growth. That metabolite release causes nutrient flow, causes blood flow, and causes like myofibrillar tearing and sarcoplasmic buildup to help us build muscle. And then finally, the last one, a little less scientific, but there is research that shows that having blood flow improved post-workout, or like even in between sets, have that pump feeling, does result in growth as well. So kind of taking that from here to here. So we go from hypertrophy, what's occurring, how do we build muscle, and then to the desired rep range. The desired rep range to build muscle, basically lots and lots of people have done videos and research on this. 5 to 30 is about where hypertrophy is going to occur. Anything below 5, typically, obviously activation and contraction, contractile force, super high, but very little in the way of metabolite release and blood flow when you're doing 1, 2, or 3 rep maxes. And then you get over 30, and what tends to happen is, yeah, we still get some of that blood flow and metabolite release, but in general, the weight is usually too light to be really high on these two, on the activation and contraction side. So, given we know what's going on to build muscle, this is what we need to build muscle. This is what we need to be as far as rep range. Where does CrossFit come up short? Why are you picking on CrossFit? So, CrossFit, you know, however you want to define it, large loads over long distances quickly was one of the kind of the buzz definitions. You know, how much work can you complete in a short period of time? The coach puts a task on the board, however many reps it may be for the day. It may take 5 minutes, it may take 30 minutes, it may take an hour and a half. But usually the end goal is to do as much of it or to do as fast as humanly possible. So that's one of the hallmarks of CrossFit. So, what does doing things as fast as possible, what does that do to our bodies? That means we're utilizing our central nervous system to the fullest extent for the entire portion of the workout. All right? So we're trying to beat that person beside us. We're trying to do more rounds in however long than they are. All right? And usually at whatever cost. What happens when that happens? We get a lot of this word, fatigue. Okay? Whenever we're trying to do something as hard or as fast as possible, we are going to accumulate a lot of fatigue. Now, a lot of stimulus is occurring early on in the workout, but then as we get more and more fatigued throughout our CrossFit workout, the stimulus more than likely is going to decline sharply, all right? So let's take a general population person doing the workout Fran, all right? 21, 15, 9, thrusters and butterfly pull-ups. First of all, not a lot of hypertrophy occurring during butterfly pull-ups, period, because of the amount of momentum that's being created. But thrusters, I mean, that's a movement that could potentially build muscle, right? We're thrusting, we're squatting under load, we're pressing under load. So feasibly, that should be something that at 21 reps should build some muscle. Here's the thing. In order to get the most out of this, we need to recreate this scenario as many times as we can. So someone going to the gym and doing 60% back squat and resting for sets of, let's say, 10, and resting 2 minutes in between and repeating that stimulus over and over is going to get way more stimulus and push up way more volume. We're going to push up way more actually hypertrophic volume than we're going to get than we will just with a 95-pound thruster, if that makes sense. So the guy squatting 225 for 5 sets of 10 is going to get 50 solid reps of good hypertrophy volume. Now back to Fran. The person does the 21 thrusters as fast as possible. That gets you crazy out of breath because of that compound movement. You go do your butterfly pull-ups. Not a lot of hypertrophy happening on butterfly pull-ups. Now we come back to the thruster. Okay, still got that 95 pounds on the bar. And the issue with that is now we're so smoked metabolically that typically we don't have the capacity to create another high stimulus environment. Okay, so at this point in the workout, we may be totally flooded with metabolites and totally flooded with blood flow, but activation and contraction is super low. We're super fatigued. We're doing those thrusters and breathing super heavy. We're reaching a lot of systemic fatigue, all right? And we're only 30-some reps in at this point. And then typically what happens as the workout goes on? If you guys have ever done Fran or ever seen anyone do Fran, what happens is the reps get smaller and smaller. We're breaking these up into sets of 4, into sets of 3. And then all of a sudden, now we've totally lost our desired rep range. Once again, all this stuff is still going nuts, but the amount of activation and contraction and mind-muscle connection that's occurring under that level of fatigue is simply not going to do a lot to help us grow muscle, okay? So that's why the CrossFit Metcon model of trying to do things as fast as possible oftentimes doesn't deliver when it comes to trying to build muscle. The person that goes to the gym and is resting in between sets and is recreating that high stimulus environment over and over and over again over the course of an hour or an hour and 20 minutes is going to get so much more from their activation, their contraction, and then the metabolite release, and then obviously the blood flow or the pump after, okay? So like I said, that's kind of where the CrossFit model falls short. The other side of this, and I'll be quick with this because this video is getting a little long, but the other side of this is that CrossFit, a lot of the strength training models that we see and a lot of the competitive programming that you see online, and you can go look for yourself. And I will say a lot of them have come around and started doing more hypertrophy, 4 sets of 10 of this and that. But in general, especially when I was doing it, we saw a lot of, obviously, Metcons, so you're pushing yourself to the wall as hard as you can metabolically. But then the other side was the strength training was like 5 rep maxes, 3 rep maxes, 1 rep maxes. Okay, it was training that other opposite end of the spectrum where we're like alactic. We're basically just doing something, pounding the central nervous system, creating, once again, a lot of fatigue. So you see the trend here with CrossFit programming is we are way, way high on the fatigue, and then the stimulus factor is down in the dumps a lot of times. So I hope that was helpful. I'm going to, I'll be happy to expand on this with anybody that has questions or anything like that. But the long and the short of it is, guys, if building muscle is your goal, if trying to add as much muscle to your physique as you can is your goal, you can't overdo the super, super high intensity Metcons, okay? It's going to be a lot of work, a lot of fatigue creation for ultimately not the result that you're looking for, if that makes sense. It has its place, but it shouldn't be the cornerstone of your training program. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.